Besides knowing what type of Pokemon it actually is, there are 3 ways to evaluate how effective your Pokemon's actually going to be in any battle. It's going to be CP, it's going to be movesets, and it's going to be IV. We're going to spend this video talking about IV because it's one of the most commonly talked about things. As soon as it was discovered, it was evaluated by the Silph Road during data mining, and they revealed, hey, not all Pokemon are born alike. Some are born with a higher attack value, some are born with a higher defense value, and some are born with a higher stamina value. And as soon as this happened, the Pokemon Go community went crazy. They went like, oh my god, what's like the greatest Pokemon type that we can have? It turns out, IV is important, but it's not important all the time. It's not going to determine the might of your Pokemon. The Pokemon type is much more important, and the Pokemon moveset is much more important. Whether you're going on attack or defense, there are different moves that'll suit your Pokemon better. This is much more important than IV, but if you find 100 IV, 100% Pokemon, that's like a holy grail of the Pokemon find. So we're going to go into that right now. What IV actually is, it stands for individual value. And this is the bonus strength scores that your Pokemon was born with. Again, not all Pokemon are created alike. Some Pokemon are born with higher stamina, and this translates to a different HP pool. Stamina and HP are not actually the same stat. This translates to a higher defense stat, which means it's going to take less damage in a fight, or it translates to a higher strength stat. But the problem is, how important is this? When you hear, well, this Pokemon is 100% IV, and this Pokemon is 65% IV, which one should I power up? The answer tends to be actually the one with the better moveset. Always pick the better moveset for the purpose of that. I like Snorlax on defenders. Got my personal Pokemon right here. Sorry, Aminal, get out of here. I like Pokemon who are strong defenders. I love Snorlax as a defender. I'm going to want a Snorlax that'll stand up for longer and have a good attack value. And I want a Snorlax with Zen Headbutt. That's what I'm looking for. It's much more important to me than the Snorlax that has a 5% higher IV. And I'll tell you why. IV is only based on 15 points per stat. 12 is much lower than 15 in terms of IV. It just means that you have 12 on top of the base stat for that Pokemon that it would have at that level versus 15 on top of the base stat for that Pokemon at that level. Folks, when you're talking about a difference of 200 points, if you can have a Dragonite with a base defense stat of 200, do you really care that much if its base defense stat is 212 or 215? At that point, you want to make sure you're using your Dragon Breath and your Hyper Beam or your Dragon Claw correctly. This is what's important. IV is a wonderful thing if you're part of the min-maxing gaming culture, if you want the most out of everything, but if you're not investing and your goal is just to catch them all, you don't need to worry about IV so hard. It's just a great way to drive yourself crazy. Last note, appraising IV, you can use an online IV calculator. I still think that's the best. My favorite one's going to be linked right here. This one will let you use the comments used by the latest appraisal feature in the game. The latest appraisal feature will also give comments that indicate certain clues about the IV scores. And it'll let you know the range of IV stats that you guys are on. It'll let you know if you're top tier, bottom tier, or middle tier. Here are the comments from high tiers on your trainer. Here are your comments from mid tiers from your trainer. And here are your comments for low tiers. Also, some IV calculators require that you power up the Pokemon. This will help them because usually you're reverse engineering the numbers to determine your IV. Some of them will tell you it's probably 60 to 85% because these are the possible ranges that it's in. If your stamina value is set at a certain amount, they're figuring out the rest. But the bottom line is, some IV calculators are better than others. They all will tell you the same thing in the end, and they all don't know what the IV is until you power it up a little or you give the right clues. So that's why this one is my favorite IV calculator. But again, folks, you're talking about a difference of 15 per stat. You're talking about 3 different stats. These are 45 points difference. And in the end, you could be talking about 37 out of 45, which is this percentage, or 42 out of 45, which is this percentage, or 45 out of 45, which sounds amazing. But you know what's more amazing? The right moveset. That's why the next video is going to be covering that. That's the spiel. Enjoy.